sometimes interrupts things in my life with different circumstances. Have you ever had that happen in your life? You have a plan, an outcome in your life, the way you think things are going to happen, and then all of a sudden something interrupts. And I'll never forget, it's interesting, just even thinking about my professional life. So I did not go to Stephen F. Austin. I'm glad I didn't, because I've been there now for too long. But anyway, ended up going to Sherman, and we had this little class where we would go and travel and do all this stuff. And so I went and worked in a little clinic in the Yucatan Peninsula. You may have been to the pyramids in the Yucatan, Chichen Itza. And I worked in a little town right outside of there. And it was called La Clínica Promesa. And I was just learning Spanish. I hadn't been to medical school. I was just in college, so I didn't know anything. You know, I was basically worthless. I couldn't speak Spanish. I didn't know any medicine. And I was down here just kind of shadowing this doctor named Dr. Perez. And Dr. Perez was this older Spanish doctor, really cool, had this deep, sexy voice, you know. Really a great doctor. Anyway, so one day we were sleeping during siesta time, and this blood-curdling scream woke me up. And there were four of us, and we got up, we walked out in the hall, and there was this kid just screaming bloody murder. And the nurses were trying to just calm him down. And they grabbed him, and they took this kid, you know, blood was kind of just dripping all over the floor. And they took him back in this room, and they were trying to tie him down. And this kid, he was speaking Mayan, wasn't speaking Spanish. I don't know what he was saying. But he was screaming, and he had been in a machete accident. And so Argelia was the chief nurse. And one thing I've learned, though, when kids are screaming, that's good. When kids are not screaming, that's bad. But anyway, so this kid was screaming, and they were trying to tie him down. He was breaking loose, and Argelia, the chief nurse, just took all of us and just put us over in the corner. And we were just watching this scene unfold, and it ends up, it wasn't really a bad injury. The kid just had a little laceration on his forehead, and his parents had brought him in through these little jungle paths to the hospital there, and in walks Dr. Perez. Now, he had just got up from his siesta, you know, and he just kind of put his hand through his hair, you know, and just came in and, you know, spoke in Spanish, spoke in Mayan to the kid. He spoke Spanish and Mayan. And, you know, heck, they just going to sew up the laceration there on the kid. Not a big deal now in retrospect. But it was amazing for me to watch this, because I had never seen anything like this. This was better than any, you know, ER TV episode. But anyway, so I'm sitting there in the corner, and Dr. Perez begins to prepare to sew up this laceration. And he puts on his gloves, and he looks back over in the corner, and he says, Carlos, ayúdame. I'm like, you know, I'm not real good at Spanish, but my name's Carlos, and I'm like, well, what's he saying? And he said, Carlos. You know, so he begins to kind of motion for me to come and help him. And I'm like, you know, I didn't know what he was saying, but I knew what he meant. And so I froze. I sat there, and all of these things began going through my mind. Well, first of all, I don't know how to sew up a laceration. I've never been to medical school. I've never even read a book. I've never even seen a laceration sewed up. I'm sitting there making up all these excuses in my mind, and somebody from behind me just kind of pushes me forward, and I take that first step. And somehow I trudge forward, and Dr. Perez begins to show me how to put on my gloves, and he injects, you know, lidocaine into this kid's laceration. The kid begins to kind of calm down and go to sleep. He's just so exhausted that he just kind of falls to sleep there. And Dr. Perez begins to, you know, show me how to suture up this laceration stitch by stitch. And, you know, shows me how to take the needle and put it in the needle holder and pull the stitch through and tie it down and all that. And, you know, as we're kind of going through this, I kind of realized, hey, this is kind of fun. And so I began to do that and sew that laceration down. And I was pretty proud of myself when it was all done. And then Dr. Perez looked at the laceration and said, ooh, Carlos, sácalos. not cyclists. What does that mean? That means take them out. So you can take a pair of scissors because it looked terrible. The kid looked like Frankenstein, you know. So anyway, so it made me do it again. And through that process of learning, I realized something clicked in my brain. You know, and I think about that, several things. First thing I think about is a what if. You know, what if I would never have taken that first step? You know, because that something, like I said, something clicked in my brain that day and made me realize that it just kind of made me gravitate towards procedures and surgery. I don't know what it was. And so, after that, when I went to medical school, I just kind of hung out in the emergency room and sewed up lacerations in the emergency room of, drunks at 2:00 in the morning. That's kind of what I enjoyed doing. And then I began to do the trauma and the surgeries and all that kind of stuff. And then the heart surgery and all that stuff. So it just started me down a path, and it all began with that first step. And, and that's the way often our experience with God is. Sometimes it's a series of steps. And it begins with the fact, just like Dr. Paris, he didn't need me necessarily to help him. He could have did it a lot quicker and a lot better and did it right the first time without me. But he was inviting me to come along with him on a journey of growth, and a journey to come and to help him to move towards a specific outcome. And so what I want to encourage you today is to begin to think about this in your life, this level of thinking that you have, that and just having this G factor, this grace begin to work in your lives. You don't have to be a victim. You don't have to be a zero. And you don't have to be a hero. You can have this formula of grace operating in your mind, G times C plus R equals O, that will change the destiny of your life. It's interesting, they say that